Hello? Hello?
Hey, Keith.
Hey.
Let me see if I can get this rolling. Hey. Oh, why is it? I keep having trouble with my video and
I lost your audio now too. I can
all
hear
right,
you
let's
now.
see if I can figure this. You can hear me now? Okay, I gotta figure this video thing out. No, that's not what I want. Don't know why it's doing this. Usually there's more people on by now.
No one likes me.
Oh, that's not true. That is far from true. Far from true. I love your thing says not Kevin.
Yeah, this is actually my son Kevin's workstation for at the robot shop. And
yeah.
so that let me see if I so when I joined the Zoom meeting, that's my default login. So
Oh, that's great.
let me see if I can. Well, I did it the very first time I used Zoom, and it was just intended to be a joke. And now I don't even remember how to change it.
Oh, there we go. Now mine's okay. Phew. All right. We're going to go with just the background tonight since I'm kind of cooking dinner right now too. Hi, Judy.
Hello, how are you, Sarah?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I
Good.
laughed as you said you were kind of cooking dinner. We're kind of doing the same thing.
Are you? If nothing else, we are probably all getting very good at multitasking with these teleconference calls.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for having the call tonight.
Sure. It's my pleasure. One thing I was worried about, I never know, we're not a football family, but I always worry I'm going to schedule over a football game.
There's no real football games happening anyhow, right?
Okay.
Excuse me, the Bearcats are playing right now.
Cincinnati, yeah, and Ohio State doesn't start till 7:30, so you're
perfect.
Yeah. And it's not going to be a good game anyway.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I was worried. Last Sunday? I think we had Rocky and his team on for the rookie workshop, and Rocky was in good spirits because the Bengals won. So if nothing else, we're going to get really happy people on these calls or really sad people on the calls, depending on how the football games are going.
It's an FTC call. It's got to be a happy call.
Yeah.
Always a happy call, right? I love your positivity, not Kevin.
Carrie's trying to make us believe he actually exercises on that equipment.
Hey, at least I don't have anything hanging on it, you know. That one over there can, you know, the treadmill holds the most stuff, but you can't see it.
Just dust.
So,
I thought about doing this from the campfire out in the backyard, but I couldn't get it. Too dark. I supposedly had some team members are going to join us. I haven't seen them come in yet.
I was hoping we get some team members.
Well, one of my team first officer just sent out a note reminding everybody about it. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. If nothing else, we can put this out on YouTube for folks to watch, and then you guys can share the information with your teams too. So.
I'm here for me to automate.
Hi.
With everyone else. Hello.
So your mom said you guys are cooking dinner too. What are you guys having?
We're having hamburgers.
Okay, we are cooking chicken and hamburgers on the grill as well.
Grill time, yes.
Yep.
One of the last few good days to do it.
Yep. Keith, I figure we'll give it another couple minutes, and then if you want to, I'll kind of, everybody probably knows you, but I'll introduce you and kind of go over what your new role is.
sure, if it seems more official if you say.
I doubt that, but I'm always happy to. Since it's a new role, so I'm sure people are like, what is this? What is this?
Otherwise, it's just me claiming to be someplace, right?
I suppose we could all say that about ourselves.
Well, my team actually was able to get together in person for the first time. So that's been a major accomplishment. We did that today.
Wonderful. How did it go?
It was incredibly successful. I'm waiting. I've got Ball Aerospace is giving me a grant to buy a tent so that I could actually have enough space. We're not shoved in my garage.
Oh,
But I'm going to buy a 10 by 20 tent so we have enough room we can work since the school
Okay.
let us in.
Gosh, you guys, all your teams, I can't even imagine. I know how difficult it is on my end, just trying to work through everything and plan everything. I can't imagine what the teams are having to figure out and the coaches are having to figure out. It is so tough.
Without air conditioning.
Yes. Yes.
That's not a real concern right now.
They
Tried to
fixed
set up some phones over Zoom today. It did not go well.
Oh no.
We're lucky enough to have the manufactory as a makerspace for our practices. So we've actually been holding our regularly scheduled practices and just making sure we're safe.
That's great. That's great to hear. I've been asking and I'm hoping everybody has come up with creative and safe ways of doing things, whatever works for them. The hard part is everybody's situation is unique. Nobody has the same situation and everybody, parents feel differently about things and it's hard to navigate through all that.
Yeah, we have one team member who's on quarantine because his father was exposed to someone who tested positive. So he obviously isn't attending practices now. But so a lot of things to worry about that we're not used to worrying about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I had a team member just tell me last night that he actually tested positive and is recovering luckily now, but
Wow.
scary.
I'm surprised Rocky's not here. He told me today he was going to be.
I imagine we'll get some stragglers. Usually that happens, but for the sake of respecting everybody's time, we'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and introduce not Kevin, who is also known as Keith Grinstead. He is the lead mentor for the Innovators Robotics team. And Keith was kind enough this season to agree to help me out and act as in the role of, actually, I should say, a new role that first has started or begun this season, which is called the Regional Lead Judge Advisor. This is a brand new role that they've established and have started this season, and the role has been kind of explained to us. This individual is going to, or Keith is going to be the person to train all of our judges and JAs mostly, but judges as well. First is wanting to get some more consistency in the judging process, specifically for FTC. So they created this role to have one single point of contact, one person in each region in charge of kind of heading up the training of the JAs and the judges. So Keith is that person for us, and I'm very grateful to him for taking on this role for us. He's got quite a road ahead. They gave us a lot of changes this season, funny enough, that he's gonna kind of go over with you guys. So the idea tonight is Keith's gonna go over all the judging changes for this season, and then we're just gonna open the floor and you guys can ask questions, anything that your teams have been wondering, anything you guys have discussed in your meetings. Let us know what you guys are thinking, and what we can answer, we will, and what we don't have answers to, we will take away and see what we can find out for you guys. So Keith, I am going to.
I have paper and a pencil, and I assume I'm going to be responding with lots of answers later, but I hope to be able to answer at least a portion of them tonight.
Awesome. Well, I will keep an eye on the chat for you in case anybody wants to chat. There's so few of us on here right now. You know, if you have a question, feel free to go ahead and unmute and just ask it. But if you would like to write it in the chat, I'll keep an eye on the chat for you, Keith. But
thank you.
No problem. I will hand it over to you and let you do your thing.
Oh, and you have you swap screens for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I can go through. So first of all, I'm Keith Grinstead. I think at least some of you know me. If others don't know me, I've been mentoring Innovators Robotics FTC team now for this will be my 6th year. Last year was my first role as a judge advisor. I had judged every year prior to that. And we were lucky enough to actually run a tournament last season. In that process, I noticed I actually went to more tournaments than I've ever been to last season, just to go see how each of the different tournaments were actually being run. And there were a lot of differences in going to each of the different Ohio tournaments, some of which our team had never competed at before. And so one of our big goals is to actually get all of the judge advisors and judges to actually be doing the same, is judging to the same thing across the state. I know a lot of people like doing things the way that they've done things in the past, and so we'll have to go through some of that. We're being told also how to do things by FTC also. So the most of the changes that you see are actually being asked to be distributed across the states because there were not only regional differences, but even differences within regions. So at least we can attempt to get some consistency within our region, having a single point of contact. I will openly answer any questions that anyone has. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I have a day job, so as most of you do, so I will respond, you know, in the evenings and on weekends much more readily than during the day. So I can go over what all of the different awards are, but I think everybody by now knows what the different awards are. Nothing changed drastically except for the fact that the control award is now ranked higher. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. The control award has a different sheet this season. It's very similar to last season's sheet, but because we're doing all remote events, the sheet comes in the you download the remote the control award sheet for remote events, and it specifically asks for you to put all of your information onto that sheet. In the manual, it actually calls out in the most recent manual, it calls out that you can have no more than 2 total pages. Through many gyrations I've figured out from the FTC control, from the FTC people, whenever they say pages, they are actually referring to sheets of paper. And so if you put information on the front and the back of 2 pages, that's a total of 4 pages of information, if that makes sense. But 1 page has to be the form, and then the other 3 pages are additional information that you're allowed. If that does that make sense?
Yep.
It's not very clear. It's been changed twice already in the manuals, but that's what they're trying to say by 2 total pages. They're thinking of physical sheets of paper, and the 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper.
That'll help cut down on all the people that are turning in source code and everything. It'll come down to being sketches of what they can do and things.
So all the source code, the sketches, all of that goes in your notebook. There's information there's on the sheet. It asks for a location for additional information, both in your portfolio and in it doesn't specifically say notebook anymore because you're not officially required to have a notebook. But everybody still needs to do a notebook. The best teams are still going to have a notebook to have all of their information that they have. The portfolio, we'll get to the portfolio in a minute, but all of the additional information that you want in addition to the control award submission, that just put all of that to back up everything that you've done, put all of that into your notebook and your portfolio. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So so then the next thing is portfolio, right? Portfolio is 8 sheets of paper. So that's, and they specifically call out 15 pages. So it's 8 sheets of paper, 15 pages of information, and 1 page as a title page. And the title page has to have your team number, possibly the location of the tournament, the types of things that you would put onto a generic title page on it. Don't go bonkers putting a bunch of additional information on the 16th page, because the 16th page, because they were really trying to keep it as 15 pages of portfolio with the title page, if that makes sense. For both the control award and the portfolio, along with your video files, they'll get submitted at the beginning of the tournament, probably the Saturday before the Saturday that the tournament starts, and those will be PDF files that you'll submit. We're not required to have you submit a PDF of your notebook, but please create a link to your notebook and give us the link to your notebook. FTC's official submission process won't have the storage space to hold everybody's notebooks. And so we're going to rely upon you guys to use Google Drive, OneDrive, whomever you normally use as your remote storage, and then just provide us a link to your notebooks. We still will like to see the notebooks during the judging process. The portfolio, of course, is going to take on a lot more merit as far as getting the judging process. But the notebook, when we need additional information, it's just useful to have access to it when we have additional questions.
Should the portfolio also contain the business plan that we would normally put in the engineering notebook, or just content about the robot?
Anything that you want to put in the portfolio, you can put in the portfolio. What I would suggest that you put in the portfolio is go look at each of the awards, and for each of the awards, the requirements for each of the awards needs to get addressed in the portfolio.
Got it. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so if an award requires that you show that, then that needs to be in your, if you want to be considered for that award, if that makes sense. The information to compete in each of the awards needs to be in your portfolio.
Thank you.
This is Sarah. Do you have slides that you are wanting to share?
I'm sort of reading off of them.
Okay.
If you want, I can. Oh,
No,
can I click share screen?
You should be able to share screen if you want. Somebody asked, and so I just wanted to make sure.
So I've faked myself out because I was looking at my screen, and somehow it just happened to fit right in the Zoom meetings location, and I was thinking that I had shared them already.
You
So
should be able to share. We can also, if you want to send it to me, I can post it somewhere for everybody to access.
I think I'm clicking on it now to make it happen.
It's working.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So that's there it is. Notebook wise, you're no longer required to have a notebook. But I think we all know how useful having the notebook is for all the team members, and so FTC doesn't want you to stop creating a notebook. It's just the basic idea behind the portfolio is that time and time again, trying to have judges look through two binders full of information becomes more and more difficult as more and more teams are actually creating 2, 3-inch or 4-inch binders full of information. And a portfolio is a very normal methodology of condensing information down to try to provide that information to both the judges and, when your parents ask, so what did you learn in robotics? And you plop that notebook down in front of them. I don't think they're going to go through it. The judges have a difficult time getting through all of the notebooks. They're still going to look at them. We're still allowed to look at them. We're just not required to look at them as we used to be.
So it would be okay and maybe even a good idea, do you think, to in our portfolio refer to pages in our notebook, like, you know, if you want more information, this can be found on page
Section.
such and such of our whole notebook.
Absolutely, yes. Yep. And there's lots of different ways of doing portfolios. They can be, you could set them up so that they were in the same order as your notebook, but you can also set them up just, you know, just so you're referencing, you reference one section, and you can give page numbers, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, because you're not going to be able to submit the PDFs at the same time, you know, and they won't be in the same location. Links won't really work between them. But you at least can give page numbers and chapters or sections, etc., within your notebook for learning additional information. It used to be required in your notebook that you have essentially a 1 or 2 page summary of what your notebook was, that provided locations for the additional information. That summary is now turning into a bigger portfolio with much more information that glances on all of the different awards and such, and or just gives you the highlights of most of them. And then if the meat is still going to be in your notebook. Okay, so that's me hitting on the big things that are different. Now, questions. There's got to be some. And here's the control award sheet that is out right now. You can download it from the regular page, from the page. They just changed it about 3 weeks ago. So make sure that you grab the right one. And this one is specifically for remote events. It's got the revision right down there now. It's 10/7/2020. So a month ago.
No questions in the chat right now, at least none that haven't been answered already. So we're good in the chat right now, Keith.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Desiree Franklin. I came in a little bit late, so I'm not exactly lost, but you know, I am kind of curious on things.
Okay.
And one of those are one. What do you guys like? What do you guys do? Like, what's your profession?
What do I do? Is that what you're asking? What's my profession? I was trained. I'm a PhD in analytical chemistry. I do laser spectroscopy, high energy laser physics. I've done. I worked for NASA for 10 years. I've worked for the Air Force for about 10 years. Working with lasers predominantly. I work for a company that manufactures lasers that get sold throughout the U.S. for 5 years also. So I've worked in a bunch of different career fields, mostly around using light, trying to use light to do different things.
That's really cool. Like, wow. I was expecting much, but I was expecting that much. But yeah. I meant like all of you guys, like all the like Coach Carrie, like the Miss Sarah, I think. I just don't know you guys.
Okay.
Or...
Yeah, that's fine.
That's a fair question. So I am Sarah Heist. I am the First Tech Challenge, what First calls a program delivery partner for the state of Ohio. So essentially, I run FTC for the state of Ohio. I'm fairly new to the position. I just started in FTC, I think it was March of this year. And I came from working or managing the first Lego League Junior, now Explore program for Ohio. So I'm fairly new to all of this. I've been out at Wright Pat, who runs all these programs for about 2 years now. So I am the lady who you talk to about pretty much anything FTC related in Ohio.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I'll jump in real quick. This is Phil Landman. I'm a mentor for the Nuts from Walnut Hills, and I'm a proud Walnut Hills alumni, a proud UC Bearcat alumni. In fact, I'm wearing the logo right here as we're playing our game tonight. Electrical engineer, and started off in R&D, and I eventually moved into sales, and I actually own a sales agency of higher tech products. Wright Pat is actually one of our better customers. Thank you very much, Sarah. I love coming up to visit.
Wonderful.
So not many people in robotics end up in sales, but it was a good spot for me.
That's really cool. You guys all have interesting, like really nice and kind of unheard of professions. I didn't even know really. I know you can work with lasers, and I know you can sell robotic stuff. I just never really met people or seen people who can do those things. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and I'll throw in real quick. This is Kerry Hicks. I'm the coach for DRSS Enterprise. I'm Air Force, retired Air Force. I work for Ball Aerospace, and I had worked for State Department and Russian launch sites and all sorts of fun things like that. I'm actually an astronautical engineer.
Wow. Well, that's also really cool. Wow.
Or Desiree, what team are you with?
I'm with Miss Townsend's team.
She's with us. She's with the Jaguars.
Oh, okay.
Woo! Yay!
It was like my first year with robotics, so I'm kind of a newbie, like Miss Sarah is.
Wonderful. We'll work through this together. So what drew you to robotics, if you don't mind me asking, Desiree?
Well, actually, I wanted. Sorry, excuse the squeaking. It's my dog. I honestly last year I wanted to join robotics, but I was doing sports at that time, and they were like overlapping, and I didn't have time to do it. So I always wanted to do it, and second, I always thought it was pretty cool and interesting thing to do. I was thinking like, how many people can say they did robotics? So I thought that was one of the main things that drove me, is because it's unique in its own way, and that's a whole other profession I wanted to tap into. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, welcome. We're super happy to have you this year, and we have got, as you can tell, just by the few individuals who have spoken up, we've got some amazing people in the FTC program, volunteers, so many people that have been doing this a long time and are just really dedicated, wonderful people. So I think you're going to enjoy FTC.
It sounds like I will too.
Any judging questions or any other questions? Or Keith, I'll let you.
Yeah, I don't know that I can go over the different. Does anyone have any questions about how we're going to do judging this season? How about that?
That is a good question, and I would like to know.
So have some of you seen some of the? So some of you are some of the mentors that are on have seen the proposed layouts as far as time, as far as how the flow of a tournament's going to go. since tournament flow, we used to do everything on essentially 2 days, Friday night and then all day Saturday. With us having remote events this season, we're spreading that out essentially across a week. And so you can see that a lot of the tournaments are listed from Saturday to Saturday. And with the goal being that a lot of the judges, at least the judges that I've spoken with, that in the past they've given up a day to come in and do judging. They're willing to give up some more time, but trying to have them meet every night after work with different teams and trying to keep consistency that way, I thought was going to be difficult. So we were proposing to try to get as opposed to our 15 minutes with a judge, 5 minutes break in between in order for the judges to take their notes. We're trying to get all of that 15 minutes plus that 5 minute note time, plus everyone getting logged in and all connected. So it's going to become more like a 30-minute cycle time. And we're going to try to do all of that cycle on a Saturday. Now, additionally, one of the things that they still haven't addressed is that they've made the comment on 2 different occasions now that we are actually going to be required as judges to meet with teams twice. Whereas in the past, the judges would go and visit the pits and see the teams that they wanted to for specific awards after having seen the teams in that 15-minute interview. So we're still going to have that 15-minute interview. That 15-minute interview is going to happen remotely via Zoom. That Zoom call will, so we're not required to have the students actually show their faces, right? They don't have to be together, but they're going to need to have some way of presenting the information to us, and they're going to have to be able to figure out how to present the information to us as a team over Zoom.
Keith, could you just take a moment? And I don't know if the judging, like what they're looking for, is going to be any different than last year, but I do have some newer robotics students on the call. And so just maybe like an overview of what that 15 minutes should consist of.
So I will, so there's a bunch of different awards, right, for the season. And all of these awards are listed in the game manual. And so you need to go into the game manual and look at each one of the awards, and your presentation needs to address the items that are listed in each of the awards if you think you want to compete for those awards. So you go, one of the awards is the Think Award, one's the Design Award, one's the Innovate Award, and you can see I'm going through them, quickly, but every team has a way of approaching these slightly differently. The Design Awards, how do you design your robot, right? The Think Award is an all-encompassing, are you a great team? And why are you a great team? How did you become a great team? The the Innovate Award, what new innovations do you have? What's creative? What design is different? Is there, how are your strategies how did you come up with your strategies? How is team play going to be done? The Control Award has actually changed this season because it used to not be as high of an award as it was in the past. But the Control Award, you should address the Control Award also in your presentation. And you can talk about how you did your autonomous mode and what sensors you used on your robot, and how you're making the robot smarter than the drivers that are driving it. The Connect Award is how your team reaches out to the community, specifically the local STEM community, the local scientists, the local engineers, et cetera, et cetera. Motivate Award, what have you done within your community to help them this year with COVID? A lot of these outreach awards are a little more difficult, but there are still things that a lot of teams have done to help their communities during this time. How has your team made an impression on the community? And then there's 2 video awards that you won't need to talk about those in your presentation, but the 2 video awards are you make videos prior to the event and submit those. So does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
So after they do that presentation, we're still trying to come up with that initial 15-minute presentation. We're still trying to come up with a logistical way to ensure that we get to see all of the teams a second time. Our initial goal was to videotape the first the first portion, or you can see my age, record I say videotape as opposed to recording the Zoom session. And so we would record the Zoom session, and then the judges that were judging each of the individual awards could go back and look at those awards, and then rank the different teams that way. If we're going to have the second meeting with the teams, it probably won't be a second meeting of the teams with the judges divided into the different award categories. It will just be a second meeting with the teams where the judges will have a set of questions that they will ask. That each of the judges will have a set of questions, and then they'll be the same questions that they'll ask all of the teams. And then based upon all that information, we'll go back and then attempt to divide and conquer and determine who wins which awards. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I have a question.
Sure.
So when you guys decide who gets which award and stuff, would that be the same day or sometime later?
It will be sometime later. The judges will go through each of the interviews, depending upon how long that takes. They could either meet later that evening or sometime the next day in order to make in order to do those deliberations. If they decide they need additional information in order to make a decision, they can reach back then to the teams and ask for additional information. But most likely they'll have all of the information. It's just that they'll need to spend more time looking through the notebook, looking at the different videos, looking at the information that they've already collected. And then all of the judges need to convince the other judges that they're making the right decisions.
Okay, thank you.
In the past, when we've had all the judges in the same room, deliberations can take on the order of 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, depending upon of all of the judges literally sitting down and arguing why each of the teams deserve to get each of the awards, right? And then ranking all of the teams and as to how well they should be ranked into each of the awards. So it becomes a very long process, and with all of the judges being remote, it's going to be even longer, which is why we need several days after the video interviews for that to occur. I think everyone's experienced the fact that remote meetings don't an hour-long remote meeting is not comparable to an hour-long meeting in person with all the people that you want to be involved in that meeting. It just is not the same. You don't get the same amount of information nor the same amount of work done. And so we know we're going to need to spend more time in order to get things right, in order to get the deliberation done properly. Anybody else?
Keith, I answered the question, but I want to make sure I answered it correctly. So we had a question about if teams are going to be allowed to have a Zoom PowerPoint presentation. Teams can present during the judging session in the first 5 minutes, however they want, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And it can be, they can do PowerPoint. So I don't know that we'll have any school teams that won't be allowed to share their video screens, but some schools don't allow students to actually share their video while, to show their faces while they're on a Zoom call, if that makes sense. Which is why we as FTC can't require that we see all of the team during the presentation while they're speaking. So having something there for the judges to see would probably be helpful if you can't share your video screen. If you can get several students together in the same location, wearing masks and social distancing, et cetera, and making the presentation, that's completely acceptable also. It's just not required like it was before. Does that sound right?
Sounds good to me. And then we had another question.
Sharing their commercials.
How about the judging for the 2 Ohio awards? And I don't know, Keith, if you have thought about this or discussed this. I know I've discussed it with a few individuals, and nothing, as far as I know, had been decided, but I'll let you go ahead and speak to that.
I think we're still attempting to, we have a couple of different solutions for the Ohio Awards. I think just as everything right now, we haven't made final decisions on how that's going to work. At least I haven't. I think we've got a couple of really cool ideas about the Ohio Awards and how to make them move forward. But that's something that will just come. They're still a thing, but it's going to be as you can imagine, team spirit that you would a team spirit award when nobody is there to judge team spirit, when you're not in a place to show quote unquote team spirit, it becomes a little more difficult. Not impossible, but a little more difficult. So we have a couple of ideas. I think we'll send something out specifically about those awards soon.
Perfect. Thank you, Keith.
How's that for kicking the ball down the road?
I love that. This is the season of kicking the ball down the road.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't typically like doing that. So I will we'll make sure that we get a decision made and we'll get information out about that soon.
Maybe you can think about a team spirit video or something. That way you can see how much enthusiasm they have on video or something.
I like that idea a lot.
Yep. Yeah, and as long as they're not screaming over the others, right?
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it.
So, anything else? What else do you want me to ramble about if I'm not going to be answering questions? Or do you just want to call it and come back with more questions later?
I'm a little curious just about how we're importing scores for the actual competition. Is there a place we can find information about that? Or can you talk about like, how does that actual scoring work?
I can talk about it. It's not necessarily judging, but the way that scoring works is that there is software that hasn't been released yet that you'll be able to download and run on a tablet. And you're going to have one or two students trained to be able to actually, or mentors trained so that they can actually run the scoring system. There's also pieces of paper you could download, or you can download the pieces of paper, paper score sheets, and then train the mentors, students that are going to be present while the robot runs a match, and have them. You're going to have teammates / mentors learn how to actually legally score the game. And whether that be on the tablet, entering information on the tablet, or entering information on the score sheets. You can find the score sheets right now on the FTC and First Inspire's website. You can download the score sheets, and the scoring system, the team guide for it is actually on the website also. So you can read about the scoring system. I don't believe they've released the scoring system yet for you to actually run, but it's very similar to the scoring systems that have been used. Everyone assumes that it's going to be the same slightly modified scoring system that's been used for multiple seasons in the past. And if you'd like a copy of the old one to put on a tablet, we can definitely get you that, just so you can see it and run it. But the team guide, if you go to the Ultimate Goal, firstinspires.org website, It's underneath scoring systems -team guide. If you download that, it's a very self-explanatory instruction manual for how to do scoring on with the software.
Does it have to be a tablet or can it be a laptop?
It does not have to be a tablet. It can be a laptop. The advantage of tablets in the past have been that um, the people that would be doing scoring would be standing around the field perimeter for the entire day of the event, and it was easier for them to hold a tablet and push buttons than it was to sit down and try to drive a laptop on their lap, because we all know that a laptop is not really a laptop. It's a fire brick that will burn your legs if you actually try to use it on your lap. So figure out how to put a chair or something on the edge of the field to sit your laptop on if you're going to drive the scoring software from the laptop. It's actually a good thing to start getting start earlier rather than later, of getting one or two mentors / kids familiar with um, running that software before before you need to in January, right? January, February, March.
And First has actually been really good about putting stuff out on their YouTube channel, and on their firstinspires.org website. They've had teams who have run matches, unofficial matches, to show how the scoring software works, how to score. Paul Smith, our Ohio head referee, has recorded a video. It's an in-depth walkthrough of how to legally score.
That's thank you, Sarah. I completely forgot about those.
Yep. So there's a PowerPoint that Paul put together. It's actually the PowerPoint he usually uses for his in-person ref training. So it is very detailed, lots of information. I would highly encourage the teams to take a look at it and to access the video we made is on our Wright-Patterson Air Force Base Educational Outreach YouTube. I've sent links to all that, but you can find it at wpafbstem.org. I'll type that in the chat for you. But there's all kinds of great team resources and stuff you can find on our website that'll take you to places on First website, just for ease. There's lots of great stuff out there right now on scoring and team scoring and the scoring software and how to score. And we are also going to be running some scoring training and giving the kids an opportunity in December to run some remote scrimmages to just practice. So we're hoping to really get everybody comfortable with scoring their own games and with the scoring software. There's lots of stuff out there to look at and watch.
Anything else?
All right. Silence is golden, Keith.
Silence is gold. I've answered all of the questions. Impossible, right?
And as Keith mentioned earlier, if you guys think of any questions, that's kind of how I roll. I'm one that I need to process and then I'll come up with questions later. So if you guys think of questions later, You can reach out to me, you can reach out to Keith to get your questions answered. We're always here for you guys to help figure things out and to help you guys work through things.
I want to say one thing. Miss
Sure.
High Score, your website or the website you put in the chat is saying that it can be reached.
Well, that's not good.
So this is an IP just came. Just wanna, yeah.
Yeah, I just tried it too. When I copied and pasted it, saying the same thing.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, try that one that I put in the chat.
That seems to work.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me know.
Well, it was nice talking to all of you guys and getting having my questions answered and also getting informed about other things.
Oh.
Thank you, Desiree.
Everyone have a nice night. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for calling in.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
guys.
Have a good weekend.
You guys too.
Yeah.
Go Bucks.
Bye-bye.
That's Vidania.
All right.
Thank you, Keith. That was awesome.
I think it went okay.
It went great. It went great. You do
So-
a lot better at not overwhelming people than I do.
I tried to keep it simple because I wasn't sure who was going to be asking questions and what they wanted to, and how deep into the weeds they wanted to get on anything.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I think, for me, it's a little more difficult because when I'm thinking about things, I'm having to think the whole picture, judging robot game before, after
Yeah.
technology, how the whole gambit's going to work. So it's really nice when you can take one piece of it, like the judging, and kind of just break it down very simply. It helps me. And I'm sure it's really good for the coaches and the teams to hear too, and just hear it simple. This is what you need. This is what's happening. This is what first wants, and then just go on with that. So you did a perfect job.
Yeah. No, I'm now just reading through the chats to see what I've missed while I was
Careful what you might find out there.
no, that's fine. No, I agree. I don't know how to replace the face-to-face pit interviews. We need a second interview. We were hoping to actually do something where you brought it, where the judges got to meet as the specific, as we've done it in the past, as the specific award judges after the original judging happened, and then if they needed to go do the pit interviews based off of their rankings, go and do something like that. But what FTC is requiring that we do is have the pit follow-up interviews with all of the teams, and if we do that, logistically, there's no way to go to have all of the first interviews, spend the time to do all the rankings, because all of that's going to be remote, and then schedule another day to do follow-up videos. There's not enough time for that to happen. And so the second interview is going to have to be, the second required interview is going to have to be something along the lines where where all the judges just ask the same questions about each of the awards, and then we'll keep that information. And then if we really get stuck, that we can't, that we really need the additional information, then they'll reach out again.
Yeah.
But because we're being required to have that second interview with everyone, with all of the teams, that's really requiring more time than any of us had ever put into scheduling this whole thing.
Yeah, and Carrie, I've heard there are vast concerns with tournament hosts about volunteers, and I want to tread really lightly in trying to make sure that our volunteers are still engaged but not overwhelmed. So Keith and Jeff specifically have been working really hard trying to figure out a really good way to try to make this happen, based on what FIRST is requiring us to do and what everyone can handle. So it's a balance.
Yeah, I guess I may have to volunteer to judge at some point. I don't like judging, but you know, there's not a whole lot of hardware inspection going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping, I am hoping, and that's, I sent out a volunteer email this week. I'm hoping we might be able to sweet talk some folks who do other roles in a normal season into judging this season. And I think that's our best hope. You know, hopefully we'll get a lot of the same judges volunteering this season that we usually have. Geography is not an issue, so anybody can volunteer anywhere at any time for any of the tournaments, which will be good. So I'm hoping to be able to just talk some folks who do other roles in normal season into maybe trying out judging this season, see if we can.
Yeah, the one thing that might speed up a little bit is as soon as we know what tournaments we're in, we'll know which ones we can volunteer to judge at, because there's no way we're going to want to judge one that we're in.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to have just because judges in general they do the judging because they enjoy the interaction with the teams and going and getting to see the excitement of doing the interviews and then walking through the pits and seeing all the robots and seeing all that. The judges aren't going to get that experience this season. And it's just not the same doing a Zoom call, right?
Yeah.
So
we sat here and thought about what the heck is our pit going to look like. Oh yeah, we won't have one. We don't have boards or any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. And so it's just I think we'll have enough judges to do it. It's just we won't have all of the same judges, just because not all of them are going to feel comfortable doing it, and B, the things that they enjoy aren't going to be here for them to experience. So we may not be able to keep all of them this season. Hopefully they'll come back in the following seasons. Thankfully, with the way that we're doing things, I'm hoping that we keep the amount of time down so that we don't overwhelm them, that we don't task them with too much. But I also think that we may end up having a lot of similar judges at a lot of events. So it may just be that we have judges do 6 events this year, because everything's remote. It makes it a little easier. It may increase consistency because we have judges.
Yep.
But none of us want to completely get away from that. All the face-to-face time that you learn so much about when you actually go walk in the pits.
Yeah.
and see the teams, or you go and watch a match to see how a specific mechanism works when you're trying to judge the robot awards.
Yeah, it's going to make a big difference what time and everything all these interviews are, because people who work full time and are not allowed to be on computers at work will have a little bit of problem, wrapping a judging schedule around things.
Well, which is exactly why I pushed so hard to try to get it done on a weekend because I think we can get more people available on a weekend day and try and get it all done on the weekend, as opposed to every night for 5 days, every weeknight for 5 days. It would be
Yep.
real. People aren't going to want to give, they come home from work and then have to do judging interviews for 5 nights during the week. That's asking a lot.
Yes, it is. Yep.
So trying to still do it on a day, on a weekend, or a day and a half on the weekend, I think we can still get a reasonable number of volunteers to do that. But I wholeheartly agree. There's no way that we could ask them to do interviews during the week.
No.
And even at, most kids get out of school, quote unquote, at 3 o'clock, but most people don't get off of work till 5, 6, right?
Yep.
And so that time frame, that 6 to 8 o'clock time frame that you'd really only be able to schedule stuff in, that's only giving you 2 hours. That's not giving you enough time to actually get all of the interviews done that you'd need to get done over that for a tournament even. So that would just increase the number of judges. And the last thing we need is to start requiring more judges look at things and then have more judges arguing about who's the best team. We trying to limit the number of judges is where we need to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a challenge. It's a definite challenge for this season. But I know we've got the right people on the job, so
Fingers crossed.
I have faith in you, Keith. You're doing a great job.
So far, so good. Yeah.
So far, so good. Since I haven't had to do anything yet, right?
Nope, the planning is the hard part. I mean, execution is difficult, but the planning is the hard part.
That's execution. That's other people, right? I'm done at that point. Right?
This is true. This is true. Oh,
Okay.
fantastic. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate all your guys' time tonight. So you guys go home, go eat dinner, go watch the football game.
All right.
For your weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, take care, everybody.